I want you to just take a moment and think about the fact that one of the things the devil just loves to steal from us is humor. Now, humor is a very important part of our life. It's really part of the social fabric of our life. I think today, oftentimes in our culture, we're becoming a humorless society. In other words, you just simply can't laugh about anything without offending someone. But just take a moment and think about what it would be like if you've ever visited, for example, any of the communist countries. Man, what a depressing place to be. I remember visiting Russia and how just dark and gray. All the buildings were gray. They were created by the communist government. Apart from the older buildings like St. Peter's Cathedral, or I think it was St. Peter's Cathedral. I'm not sure. It was a cathedral, and beautiful. But beyond that, total gray, just gray. And the people were, man, humorless. They didn't laugh about. I didn't see anybody laughing at any given time. No one goofing off. The beauty of our country is that we have the freedom of expression without fear of reprisal. You take that away and you just remove humor, and humor is such an important part of the human condition. We need to be able to laugh not only at others but ourselves personally. I mean, who's funnier than we ourselves? And I think what we see in the book of Job, you can go through the whole book, but you remember in chapter 31, I think I mentioned it as chapter 28 in service on Sunday. It's actually chapter 31. In that chapter, Job starts defending his integrity. He's been badgered by his three friends. He's got this young man, Elihu, that's sitting out there. He hasn't spoken yet, but he's the only one that doesn't get in trouble. And he's the only one that challenged Job for what? Justifying himself in the presence of God. But anyway, Job says, look, 17 times he goes through this, if I've ever, and then he has 3, have I? These questions. So think about it. 17 times, if I've ever looked at a woman lusting, if I ever abused the poor, if I've ever robbed or stolen, or he goes through a whole list. And then God shows up in the whirlwind. And God proceeds to speak to Job. But God lists at least 68, if not more, of these rhetorical questions. Hey, listen, were you there when I created everything? Were you there when I made the stars and the angels sang? Before even the angels were created, before they even sang, I was there. I was doing all this stuff. Are you mighty enough to conquer Leviathan, the crocodile? Are you bigger than that? They just got questions for you. How about Behemoth? How about a hippopotamus, Job? Are you big enough to wrestle him on, take him down? All these questions. And what Job comes to, chapter 40, is I think I should shut up. God continues on in chapter 41. He says, look, I just repent in dust and ashes. Let me just say something. I think God kind of thinks it's humorous to see what we as human beings, the worth that we place upon ourselves, the value that we give, for example, to situations and circumstance when we have such a mighty Redeemer. The incredible amount of mental worth that we place on the problems in our culture, and believe me, there's many of them. But we have a mighty Redeemer. And one of the things that we're studying on Wednesday nights is what should be our attitude towards the culture. There's many things that we disagree with as believers in terms of behavior and the outcome of the decisions that our culture is making. But how do we approach this as believers? And I can tell you this, one of the things that we should never lose is the joy of knowing that we have a God that's greater than all of this, that can intervene at any moment. That it isn't based upon you and me, it's based upon Him. He's the one that sits above the circles of the earth. He's the one that decides how things will go. It's not you or me. And I don't know about you, but I have, as Sue and I have thought about this many times, we have grandchildren that we're going to be, at some point in the future here, we're going to be checking out and going to heaven. We'll be interceding from heaven. But what are we leaving them as a world, as a culture? But as serious as that is, we have a God. He's a great God. He's the one that decides all of these things. The nations, as it says in Isaiah, are just a drop in the bucket to him. And as it says in Acts 17, he decides the boundaries of the nations. As much as we would like to think that it's our decisions that will change and alter all of these things, God is the one that set the boundaries. God's the one that decided these things. He knows when the end will come. He knows when the Antichrist will show up. He knows when Israel will be surrounded on all sides by enemies. He knows these things. And for us, we know that we have a God in heaven who says in Matthew chapter 28, verse 18, the last words, all power has been given to me. It's been entrusted to me in heaven and upon the earth. Look, he's got it. He's got the whole world. I'd sing it for you, but I have to get my southern out. He's got the whole world in his hand. Yeah, he's got the whole wide world in his hand. See, I can do that. Till next time, friends, God bless you.